Computer. All right, here we go. Shalom, everyone. This is Brother Doug with the Awakened by Yahuwah Fellowship Group. We are on our weekly Sabbath fellowship today, and we are going to be continuing the book of Yashayahu, aka the book of Isaiah, and we are going to be reading chapter 40. All right, so here we go. Comfort for Yahuwah's people. Comfort, comfort my people, says your Elohim. Speak tenderly to Yerushalayim. Tell her that her sad days are gone and her transgressions are pardoned. Yes, Yahuwah has punished her twice over for all her transgressions. Listen, it's the voice of someone shouting, clear the way through the wilderness for Yahuwah. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our Elohim. Fill in the valleys and level the mountains and hills. Straighten the curves and smooth out the rough places. Then the esteem of Yahuwah will be revealed, and all people will see it together. Yahuwah has spoken. A voice said, shout. I asked, what should I shout? Shout that people are like the grass. Their beauty fades as quickly as the flowers in a field. The grass withers and the flowers fade beneath the breath of Yahuwah, and so it is with people. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our Elohim stands forever. O Sion, messenger of good news, shout from the mountaintops. Shout it louder, O Yerushalayim. Shout and do not be afraid. Tell the towns of Yahudah, your Elohim is coming. Yes, the King, Yahuwah, is coming in power. He will rule with a powerful arm. See, he brings his reward with him as he comes. He will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will carry the lambs in his arms, holding them close to his heart. He will gently lead the mother sheep with their young. Who else has held the oceans in his hand? Who has measured off the heavens with his fingers? Who else knows the weight of the earth, or has weighed the mountains and hills on a scale? Who is able to advise the spirit of Yahuwah? Who knows enough to give him advice or teach him? Has Yahuwah ever needed anyone's advice? Does he need instruction about what is good? Did someone teach him what is right or show him the path of justice? No. For all the nations of the world are but a drop in the bucket. They are nothing more than dust on the scales. He picks up the whole earth as though it were a grain of sand. All the wood in Lebanon's forests and all Lebanon's animals would not be enough to make a burnt offering worthy of our Elohim. The nations of the world are worth nothing to him. In his eyes, they count for less than nothing, mere emptiness and froth. But to whom can you compare Yahuwah? What image can you find to resemble him? Whoa. Can he be compared to an idol formed in a mold, overlaid with gold and decorated with silver chains? Or if people are too poor for that, they might at least choose wood that won't decay and a skilled craftsman to carve an image that won't fall down. Haven't you heard? Don't you understand? Are you deaf to the ears of Yahuwah, the words he gave before the world began? Are you so ignorant? Yahuwah sits above the circle of the earth. The people below seem like grasshoppers to him. He spreads out the heavens like a curtain and makes his tent from them. He judges the great people of the world and brings them all to nothing. They hardly get started, barely taking root. When he blows on them, they wither. The wind carries them off like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal? Asked the set apart one. Look up into the heavens. Who created all the stars? He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each by its name. Because of his great power and incomparable strength, not a single one is missing. O Jacob, how can you say Yahuwah does not see your troubles? O Yashra'al, how can you say Yahuwah ignores your rights? How have you never heard? Have you never understood? Yahuwah is the everlasting Elohim, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fail in exhaustion. But those who trust in Yahuwah will find new strength. They will soar high on the wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. That is the end of chapter Isaiah Yashayahu, chapter 40. Okay, wow. So verse 10 really spoke to me. I don't know if anyone else caught that. It says that his reward is with him as he comes. And this Isaiah 40 verse 10, it says, yes, the sovereign Yahuwah is coming in power. He will rule with a powerful arm. See, he brings his reward with him as he comes. That reminds me of Yahushua in Revelation saying, my reward is with me.
Yes.
That kind of reminded me of Yahushua, and very interesting parallel there. And then it goes on to say he will feed his flock like a shepherd. And we know that Yahuwah chose Yahushua to be our shepherd. And that his sheep hear his voice. As it says in, I believe it's either in the book of John or Matthew. It says, my sheep hear my voice, and I lead them to pasture. So, other than that, I mean, this chapter is pretty much self-explanatory. Yahuwah is trying to make a point of that we are nothing compared to him. Everything that's on this earth cannot even come close to him. Starts talking about how all these sacrifices, the animals being sacrificed, no amount of them could be worthy of Yahuwah. And just basically that, we are truly beneath him. We are truly, no one could even be wise enough to give him counsel. No one could ever give him advice. It's kind of like the same aspect in the book of Jeremiah, where Yahuwah is telling Jeremiah, how can the clay judge the potter? How can the clay say to the potter, why did you make me this way? And who can basically give Yahuwah advice and say, no, you're doing that all wrong? And I liked verse 22 just because of what I believe about our cosmology and the plane that we live in. And how it says he sits above the circle of the earth. And I always love that verse. And what's really interesting is once it gets to the stars in verse 26, it says that he brings them like an army. He brings them out like an army, referring to the stars, and calls them by their own name. So that's a lot of names.
Stretches out the heavens like a curtain.
Yeah, the heavens, which I guess that would refer to the clouds, the sky, but also the firmament, and also his throne room, even, because according to the Brit Hadashah, according to what Paul says in a dream he had or whatever, he talks about 3 heavens that that there's three different heavens. So you have like the sky or atmosphere, you have the firmament, the waters above the waters, and you have Yahuwah's dwelling in the highest heaven. And so I guess that could refer to all three of them.
And the earth is his footstool.
Yeah. It's his footstool. It's his that, to me personally, what I believe about that verse in the book of Acts where it talks about the heavens the earth is his footstool, and I believe that's figurative, but also can be physical. Also could be Yahuwah describing the earth on what it looks like. And I think it's double layered, that verse. It's not just figurative, but it's actually literal. Even though it can be.
Rob Skiba actually created an image of how the earth would look, with a dome and the four corners and the circle inside the four corners. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen the website with the picture of the four pillars, and he has the snow globe, and I think he calls it the terrarium, and he believes that it's like a snow globe with the four pillars, and I believe it's something definitely similar to that. I definitely believe it's like a snow globe. And obviously the four corners and the four pillars of the earth, so there has to be four corners. So
yeah,
I definitely agree with that. And I think under us is, Sheol and all that, the underworld. That's why they call it the underworld in mythology. That's why the Greeks call it the underworld. And it's the world that's under our feet. That's where the grave is. And that's pretty much. And then of course you have the three heavens. The Yahuwah's throne room would be where his throne is, and he's actually even above the waters, which many speculate could be Satan's kingdom. Satan tried to usurp Yahuwah's throne, but he went from the first heaven to the second heaven. And he's in the waters above the waters. That's why he's called the principality of the air, the prince of the air. And possibly that, the waters above the waters could be where he's dwelling. Me personally, I believe he's actually already on the earth. He's been on the earth for a while now, scheming and hiding in the shadows. I think he's physically been on this earth since Yahushua's birth, but that's just my opinion. I think he literally fell to the earth when Yahushua was being born. And Yahushua actually testifies to that. He actually says, I saw Satan fall out of the heavens like lightning. So he hit the earth like lightning.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at the book of John, John even says, he dictates what Yahushua said, because the book of John has been known to be a direct dictation from Yahushua. So John is actually writing these words down when Yahushua is saying it. He says, now at this time has the prince of the world be cast out. So Yahushua actually tells you verbatim that the devil's been casted out already, because he says, at this time the prince of this world has been casted out. So that's why I believe Satan has been dwelling on this earth since then. So I don't believe he's in the waters above the waters. I don't believe all that. He might have been in the past, but he's not there anymore. That's just what I believe from what Yahushua says himself.
Well, it makes sense, yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that before, but when you mentioned that Yahushua did say, I saw Satan fall like lightning, it's not like he's going to see it, he saw it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And he said to John and his disciples, he even said, basically saying in the present time, this now the prince of this world has been casted out. So, I mean, it's kind of like he's pretty much telling them that he's there in the present being casted out to the earth. So, and that's two witnesses. That's Luke witnessing it, where Yahusha verbatim says that Satan fell like lightning, and then in John, it's saying, pretty much the same thing, that the prince of the world has been casted out. So I do believe there's a lot of evidence in the Brit Hadashah alone that shows that Satan's been on this earth physically dwelling, on this earth for a while now, probably since 100 AD at least. So he's been. I do think though his principalities are still in the air. Obviously, he still has his 1/3 probably still circling around, and probably, and obviously I don't doubt that he is a fallen Malachim, so he can fly around and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's still technically flying around in the sky, trying to do stuff. And so, but
well, I believe that he can transform himself into the likeness of a human, an animal, or tree, anything. And but I think he would most likely be masquerading as a human.
mm-hmm.
Scripture says he transforms into an angel of light.
And he can transform himself into an angel of light, as my brother just said.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. Pope Francis actually said the devil is a man. It's kind of weird. Like I remember hearing that recently. I was like, what? It's like, what do you mean? He's like trying to say the devil's a human. I'm like, what? So it's very weird to hear that from someone that's an authority of the Vatican to say that, and right out in the public saying that. So that's really weird. But yeah, I agree. It says in the book of Enoch too, which we were reading last night, that you can take any form. Like basically, the Watchers could take any form they chose. And as far as I know, Watchers are not that high of a class. I mean, they're a class of Malachim, but they're not like the top. They're not even like an archangel. So if they can change their appearance and take any form they want, I'm pretty sure Satan can do the same, because he was a cherub. So, I mean, that's a pretty high class of Malachim. He's pretty much probably, I don't know how the classes go, like order-wise, but I know the Arch Malachim are like the top guys. Like Gabriel and Michael are like the top two that Yahuwah has around him. And they're pretty much the two Yahuwah trusts. And probably the highest order of a Malachim is a Arch Malachim. And then you probably have the Seraphim and all these other ones. And then I would think the cherub would be like within the top 5 of the order, like, what the highest order of Malachim. So yeah, I definitely think Satan has the ability to do that. And so yeah, he transformed, and I think that's what happened in the Garden of Eden. I'm glad to bring this out for the viewers. I don't believe he was a garden snake. Where that mistranslation of the serpent, that word doesn't even mean serpent. Nahash or Nachash, however you want to pronounce it, with whatever Hebrew you use, it means a diviner, a seducer, shining one is actually a definition for it also. So it could possibly just mean Malachim. It could mean a Malachim was deceiving them, which, if it is Satan, then obviously he changed back to his original form of Halel, or most people know him by the name of Lucifer. he probably changed back into his original form, and Adam and Eve were deceived in that way because they saw a Malachim before them saying to them, "Oh, did Yahuwah really say that? You sure you heard him right?" Because think about it, like if you put yourself in their shoes and they see, you see one of his heavenly messengers, one of the soldiers of his heavenly army come down, and they're questioning you whether you heard him right, or you're questioning whether did he really say that. Who wouldn't like hesitate a little bit and be like, I don't know, did we hear him right? Because they're the Malachim are in a higher order than they are, and so they probably were questioning like, maybe we heard Yahuwah wrong. Maybe that's not what he said, and just that little bit of doubt is what got them to eat the apple. So I personally believe that makes a lot more sense than a stupid little green snake hissing at a woman saying, "Did he really say that?" Like how they have like the Christian church, like that. To me, that I don't know how anyone can be deceived by a snake. First of all, the snake, even in our culture, snake symbolizes evil. Number one. I mean, and for me personally, to put myself in their shoes, if I see like a reptile trying to talk to me, my first inclination is, why is a reptile talking? Why is a snake even like talking to me? So I don't know. To me, it doesn't even make sense. And
No, it doesn't. I want to talk about something else. This chapter has so much meat in it. Towards the end, where he talks about his people and how he takes care of his people. And actually, beginning in verse 11, or verse 10, really, see the Master Yahuwah comes with strength and his arm rules for him. See, his reward is with him and his recompense with him, before him. He feeds his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs with his arm and carries them in his bosom, gently leading those who are with young. And who does that picture? Who have we seen pictures of carrying the lamb? That's Yahusha. And then towards the end, it talks about, did you know, have you not heard the everlasting Elohim, Yahuwah, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who wait on Yahuwah renew their strength. They raise up the wing like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint. And this is how he works in us. He can give us strength when we need it and cause us not to be weary. Even though we're very tired, he can cause us to renew our strength. I love that. Even though he speaks of human beings like the grass, he said the people are like grass. The grass withers. People wither, people die. But yet, they come back in the resurrection, and he can strengthen them even in old age. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this chapter.
Yeah, what I also like, and this really hit home, was verse 18, was, what image can you find to resemble him? And it really hit home because for ages man has tried to make this false image of Yahuwah and Yahusha, and this verse right here says, what image can you find to even resemble him? He can't be resembled by a man-made image. And that's how I take that verse. It's like, it says, can he be compared to an idol formed in a mold, overlaid with gold? So it's kind of like saying, there's no image that could resemble him.
Yes. He's almighty.
And
He is
also,
our-
verse 21 I like too. It says, haven't you heard? Don't you understand? Are you deaf to the words of Yahuwah? The words he gave before the world began. So again, the origin of his word was was before even the world was in existence. He created his word.
Yes, he did. And even before the world was in existence, before the foundation of the world, Yahuwah ordained that Yahusha would come down here as a man and die for all people who would accept him and live like him. And we can't just say, oh, yeah, I believe in Yahusha. No, you have to live like Yahusha. You have to keep the commandments of Elohim. And they're not grievous. They're not hard. They're in the first 5 books of Moses. And the basic 10 are in Exodus 20. And it just tells you how to interact with mankind and how to worship Yahuwah. It's simple. It's something a child could do. And I don't see what the big deal is that people think it's so hard to keep these commandments.
No, and you don't have to keep all 613 because certain commandments deal with certain people. There's certain commandments that are only for men, only for women, only for Levites. The whole idea that you have to keep all 613 is just a straw man argument that Christians use. Realistically, you have to keep the 10 Commandments, you have to keep the feast days, you have to keep the dietary laws, you have to keep the basic general ones that apply to everyone. Those are the commandments he holds you to. Now, if you are a Levite, you have to keep the Levitical commands. Obviously, the commands that refer to a woman keeps. The commandments that refer to a man keeps. But it's not literally all 613 are putting on one person. There's different parts of law are required for certain people to keep. Yeah.
But the Levitical priesthood has been suspended at this time.
Yeah, it's postponed for right now.
Yahusha comes back with his reward.
Yeah, so really, realistically, for right now, at the present time, we don't have to worry about the Levitical parts anyway, since there's no temple. So what we need to worry about is what is applicable, and pretty much what's basic stuff. It's the first 10 obviously should be the foundation, knowing almost the 10 Commandments by heart. And then going further into the law that it talks about Deuteronomy, Numbers, Leviticus, Yahusha, the book of Yahusha talks about it a little bit. All through the scriptures, it actually restates the commandments and stuff like that. Now, there's certain ones that through learning the word that you'll find out are also commandments, like even though the new moon is not a verbatim appointed time in Leviticus 23, you find out from the prophets that it was part of the law. So you find out that it's within the law of Masha, the law of Yahuwah. So there are
you'll find the trumpets are blown on every new moon. And Exodus 10, I think. Is it Exodus 10?
Well,
Dennis, you know.
Numbers 10.
Numbers 10. I'm sorry, my mistake.
10, 9,
Numbers 10, yeah. Numbers 10. And it tells you to blow the trumpets on every new moon day, every feast day, and the Sabbath. I mean,
And to shout with the trumpets when we're in distress.
yes.
Verse 9.
But every time there's a appointed time, a moedim or a moed, plural would be moedim.
Times.
These are the appointed times of Yahuwah. They are the Sabbath, the feast days, the new moon. I think that's it. We are to blow the trumpets on all these days to signify that we are meeting. All the congregation is to meet on those days. So I think
I think we need to shout and then too, because we are in distress.
yes, the Great Tribulation has been, the birth pains, I'll say, of it have been going on for some time now. And nations are in distress.
Jacob's trouble.
Specifically, this nation of the United States, which is an Israelite country. All the Israelite countries are especially going to be affected because it's called the time of Jacob's trouble. And that does not exclude Israel. Israel is
Is Jacob's trouble.
Jacob's trouble is going to be Israel. Jacob's trouble is going to be here in the United States and Canada and Australia and Great Britain, New Zealand, all
The whole earth.
Israelite
Yeah.
will
It
be.
actually says in Jeremiah 16, I believe it's 16:6 or 69, it says that the time of Jacob's trouble has come upon the whole earth.
Mhm.
So again, Yahuwah makes it clear it's not just one country or one part of the earth, it's the whole earth is going to come on. And the only people that Yahusha refers to escaping it is probably the people that are called worthy to escape it. And I think even in Revelations, Yahusha,
Luke 21:36.
Yahusha actually gives a second witness to Luke and actually says, because you have held fast to my word, I will give you a place to escape the hour of trial that will come upon the earth. And, basically to try.
That's in Revelation 3.
Let me see if I can find that one.
3:9, I believe.
To escape the trial, the hour of trial that comes upon the earth.
The wrong book. Here it is. Revelation 3 verses 8 through 10 is the thing we were looking for.
Yep, Revelations chapter 3, 8 to 10, and that says, 3, 8 to 10. I know your works, and behold, I have set an open door before you, which no man can shut. Because you have a little power, and you have kept my word, and have not denied my name. And behold, I grant some of the synagogue of Satan, those who say about themselves that they are Yahudim and are not, but they are lying, behold, I shall make them come and worship at your feet, to know that I have loved you. Because you have kept my word of my patience, I also shall keep you from the trial that is going to come over the entire inhabited world to test the inhabitants of the earth. So that's the Aramaic Peshitta New Testament. That's how that reads. So because we just did not deny his name, that's pretty strong.
And then Luke 1:36 adds to that and tells us to watch at all times and pray that you may be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place and to stand before Ben Ha-Adam, that is Yahusha, the son of Adam.
I also want to find that one from Yirmiyahu that actually talks about Jacob's trouble. I think it's, let's see here, Yirmiyahu 16. Where is the time of Jacob's trouble? Let me just look that up real quick. It is the time for it is the time of Jacob's trouble. I know it's in Yirmiyahu 16. I just need to find the verse.
Well, here's the verse that talks about it anyway. In Yirmiyahu 30, verse 7, it says, "Oh, for great is that day, there's none like it, and it is the time of Jacob's distress, but he shall be saved out of it." And it goes on the same verse 8, "And it shall be in that day, declares Yahuwah of hosts, that I break his yoke from your neck and tear off your bonds, and foreigners no more enslave them. And they shall serve Yahweh, their Elohim, and David, their sovereign, whom I will raise up for them."
Wow.
Now, did you find what you were looking for yet?
Yeah, I could have swore I remembered seeing something in Yirmiyahu chapter 16 talking about Jacob's trouble. Maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn I saw something like that. He talks about let me see here. Must have been another chapter. But yeah, Jeremiah 37 pretty much talks about it. And there's a lot in the Brit Hadashah that refers to that. I mean, you can go through the whole chapter pretty much of Matthew 24, talking about the birth pains. You also have, I think, one from Micah. I found a web page on here about Jacob's trouble from BibleStudyTools.com. They have a bunch of verses here. They got, Micah chapter 4, verse 9, which says, Micah, where are you?
Why do you cry aloud? Is there no sovereign in you? Has your counsel perished? For pain has gripped you like a woman in labor.
Wow. Oh. Oh, okay. I see why they cited that one because of the woman in labor. Okay, so because they, I guess they assumed that Yahuwah was referring to the Jacob's trouble by that phrase "woman in labor." Okay, so that's kind of a general term, but I see why they did that. But yeah, because a lot of times when Yahusha refers to Jacob's trouble, he also says that. He says, there shall be pains on you like a woman in labor. Um, and what's interesting too is in prophecy, Yahuwah actually says about the regathering that shall a nation be born in one day? Shall a woman give birth to a nation one day? So it seems like Yahuwah is giving the same terminology for us finally becoming a nation and finally being gathered together, all 12 tribes, as you know, proceeding from the labor pains.
Yeah, I think that's in Isaiah 66.
Yeah, which would make sense because Isaiah 66 is all about the millennial. Like that whole chapter is about the millennial. Yeah, thus says Yahuwah, the heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you would build unto me? And where's the place of my rest? Again, the similarities between the Father and the Son. Where's the place of my rest? Where can I rest my head? For all those things have mine handmaid, and those things have been, says Yahuwah. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit and trembles at my word. He that kills an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrifices a lamb is as he cut off a dog's neck. He that offers an oblation is as if he offered swine's blood. Wow. He that burns incense as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways. See, that's key right there. Again, Yahuwah always says, obedience over sacrifice. So what Yahuwah is actually in context saying, because I can see how the Christians would be like, oh, well, he hates sacrifice. That we can close the book right now. Like, if you look in context, Yahuwah is actually referring to people that choose their own way and are trying to sacrifice sacrifices to him, but are in sin. And they're trying to do it in their own way. They're trying to keep his feast days, but then live a wicked lifestyle. And that's what he's really talking about in context. He's saying that your sacrifices is like swine's blood. And yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. And when I spake, they did not hear, but they did wickedness before my eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. Hear the word of Yahuwah, you that tremble at his word. You brothers, your brethren that hated you, that casted you out for my name's sake, said, let Yahuwah be esteemed. And notice in Isaiah 66 verse 5, again, there's a parallel between Yahuwah and Yahusha. What does Yahusha say, in the Brit Hadashah? All nations will hate you for whose name's sake? His name's sake. So again, there's like a parallel between the Father and the Son with Isaiah and what Yahusha says in, I think, Matthew. And so, again, this in Isaiah, it's saying that we will be hated for Yahuwah's name's sake.
Mm-hmm.
And a voice, let's see, it said, let Yahuwah be esteemed, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Yahuwah that renders repayment to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Now, obviously, this this is a cross reference to Revelations 12, 1-5. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Sion travailed, she brought forth her children. So again, this is a reference to that Sion is the mountain of Yahuwah. She brought forth Yashra'al, which is us, believers. And shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, says Yahuwah. Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, says your Elohim? Rejoice ye with Yerushalayim, and be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her esteem. For thus says Yahuwah, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the esteem of the nations like a flowing stream. Then shall you suck, you shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees, as one whom his mother comforts, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Yerushalayim. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like a herb, and the hand of Yahuwah shall be known towards his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. So it's a metaphor. Sion is a metaphor for us being born from the woman, and it's almost like they're comparing our birth as a nation to Yahuwah sending his son Yahusha being born from a virgin. So it's almost like a comparison he's making. And he talks about the man-child in verse 7, which Revelation chapter 12, 1-5, again, is where that's getting that from. She gives birth to the man-child that shall rule with a rod of iron. So that's, John's not getting that out of nowhere. He's getting that prophecy from Isaiah. So that's pretty much what Isaiah 66 is about, but I think later on it starts talking about the judgment and starts talking about, I think, after the judgment, it gets to the whole millennial thing. Because I know in Isaiah 66, it talks about the Levites coming back and all that. So I know at some point it transitions to, I believe it transitions to the millennial after the judgment. Because Isaiah 66:22 says, for as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, says Yahuwah, so shall your seed and your name remain. So again, it gets to the new heaven and new earth towards the last couple of verses of that chapter.
Should we move on to chapter 41, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's see here. So who wants to read 41?
Dennis, you want to read? Oh, okay. Dennis is going to read in a minute. Okay, Isaiah 41. According to the Hallelujah Scriptures.
Yep. Be silent before me, you coastlands, and let peoples renew their power. Let them come near, then let them speak. Let us come together for right ruling. who raised up the righteous one from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made sovereigns submit to him. He gave them as the dust to his sword, as driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them, passed over in safety by a path that he had not gone with his feet, who has performed and done it, calling the generations from the beginning. I, Yahuwah, am the first, and even the last I am he. Coastlands see it and fear. The ends of the earth are afraid. They draw near and come. Everyone helps his neighbor and says to his neighbor, be strong. And the craftsman encourages the goldsmith. He who smooths with the hammer inspires him who strikes the anvil, saying of the joining, it is good. And he fastens it with nails, so it does not totter. But you, Yisrael, are my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the descendants of Abraham, whom I love, whom I have strengthened from the ends of the earth, and called from its furthest parts, and said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall strengthen you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. See, all those who raged against you are ashamed and blush. There is nothing, and the men who strive with you perish. You seek them, but do not find them. Those who struggle with you, those who fight you, are nothing, as less than nothing. For I, Yahuwah your Elohim, will strengthen your right hand, saying, you do not fear, I shall help you. Do not fear, you whom Jacob, you men of Yisrael, I shall help you, declares Yahuwah, and your Redeemer, the Kadesh one of Yisrael. See, I shall make you into a new threshing sledge with sharp teeth. Let you thresh mountains and beat them small, and make hills like chaff. You winnow them, the wind lifts them up, and the whirlwind scatters them. But you rejoice in Yahuwah, and boast in the Kadesh one of Yisrael, whom the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongues have failed for thirst. I, Yahuwah, do answer them. I, the Elohim of Yisrael, do not forsake them. I open rivers on bare hills and fountains in the midst of valleys. I make a wilderness become a pool of water, and a dry land springs of water. I put in the wilderness cedar, acacia, and myrtle, and oil tree. I place in the desert cypress, pine, and box tree together, so that they see and know that consider that and understand together that the hand of Yahuwah has done this, and the Kadesh one of Yisrael has created it. Present your case, says Yahuwah. Let your strong come near, says the sovereign of Jacob. Let them draw near and declare to us what is going to take place. Let them declare the former, and we that what they were, and we consider them, and know the latter end of them, to announce to us what is coming. Declare those that are going to come hereafter, and we know that you are mighty ones. Also, do good or do evil, and let us be amazed and see it together. See, you are nothing, and your work a breath. He who chooses you is an abomination. I have stirred up one from the north, and he comes. From the rising of the sun, he calls on my name, and he comes against princes as mortar, as the potter treads clay, who has declared from the beginning, and we know in former times, and we say, is he righteous? No, no one is declaring. No, no one is proclaiming. No, no one is hearing your words. He who is first said to Zion, see, see them, and to Jerusalem, I give one who brings good news. And I see that there is no man, and of these there is no counselor, who, when I ask of them, answers a word. See, all of them are useless. Their works are nothing. Their molded images are wind and confusion. All their idols.
Mhm.
They're nothing.
I like the way he comforts the seed of Yaakov in the beginning of this chapter.
Yeah.
He says, "Do not fear, for I am with you." And right above that, "You are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you." So, he says in verse 13, "For I, Yahweh, your Elohim, will strengthen your right hand, saying to you, do not fear, I shall help you. Do not fear, you worm, Jacob, you men of Israel. I shall help you, declares Yahweh, and your Redeemer, the Kaddish one of Israel." And the Kaddish one is Yahusha.
Yeah.
He is our Redeemer. It's interesting how he's all through the Tanakh. Everywhere you can find scriptures that speak of Yahusha, the Son, Ben Ha-Adam, and Ben Ha-Yahuwah. Oh, how I pray that our Jewish brothers and sisters would learn and study from the Tanakh the truth about Yahusha. You don't even need the Brit Hadasha. You just need the Tanakh.
Yeah, you need the Tanakh to see. I would say you need the Tanakh first to see that he is the Messiah and that the Brit Hadashah is not teaching you something new or different. But I would also say they do need the Brit Hadashah to understand many other things that are not really elaborated by the Tanakh, like Yahusha goes into depth of the end times in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You need the book of Revelations because the book of Revelations is like the climax. And you, without the book of Revelations, you don't know how the story ends. You don't know how the story, you'll know from the other prophets how it builds up, but you won't know to the end game, as they like to call it. That you won't know what Satan's last stitch effort is going to be. So I do believe that we need all of it. And I know Sister Shoshana wasn't trying to say that, but I just want to make it clear that we're not saying that you only need the Tanakh. But
I was just saying that to begin with,
yeah,
if you're Jewish,
yeah,
all you need to know that Yahusha is our Messiah, and then you can study the Brit Hadasha after you learn from the Tanakh. That's all I was saying.
Oh yeah, I agree 110%. I agree 100. Even with a movie, I always say this with a movie. How do you watch a movie? You go to the beginning first or the ending first. So, it's pretty simple. It's common sense. You want to know the beginning to understand the ending. And that's why we've been so confused with the Brit Hadashah. We've been, you know, manipulated to think that it's different, that it contradicts the beginning of the book, and that it's something new and yada yada. But it's really the same thing. It's just a different angle, a different. Basically, it's the first 3/4 of the book is what we have to do to obey him, what we have to do to show him we love him. Now, the last 1/4 of the book is about how do we do that. It's like basically the beginning is the application, but how do we apply that application is what Yahusha talked about in the 4 different accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and pretty much showed us how to love one another, how to love Yahuwah, how to keep his commands rightly. And pretty much the original Israelites, they were given the law, but they still lacked understanding to know how to keep the law the correct way. And they even back then, I would say they kind of had a works-based salvation idea. Even back then with the original Israelites, they still had, they felt like if they did these commandments and they pretty much were just doing commandments just to do commandments. They weren't understand the meaning behind it. They weren't understand why they were doing it, or for what purpose they were keeping the commandments for. That was the purpose of Yahusha coming to earth, to explain all that, to be like, listen, you guys have added all this stuff to my commandments. You guys have done this. You guys have done that. And even with the Gnostics, they believed in works equal salvation. The Gnostics believed that the more, quote unquote, set apart you were, the more righteous you were, the closer you were to godhood or whatever. So there was this idea always that, your works is what got you saved. And I believe that's what was the purpose of the Brit Hadashah, was to basically combat that type of thinking. That everything's about our works, but it was really about first believing and having trust in that the works should follow that. The never focal point was trusting in your own works.
And again, you have to be careful, because your belief is amplified by your works.
Mm-hmm.
You show you believe by your works. And yes, it is it is absolutely a gift. Eternal life is. And the way that works is you keep these commands, but when you stumble, you have a Savior to call on. You say, by the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, I need to be forgiven. And that's when we go to the Father and ask him for that forgiveness. And that's the whole reason why he came, that we might have forgiveness through him. It's a difficult walk in understanding the difference between works and belief, because you have to have both. It's not a salvation of works, it's a salvation of belief. But without works, your belief is nothing.
Yeah, because a true trust, true belief should be followed with obedience. That's the whole thing, because Paul says Messiah is the goal. okay, if he's the goal, then we should be aiming to be like him. And if what he was the law made flesh, then we have to aim to copy that. And that's the whole point, is that if you're born again, then you're automatically going to want to, whether knowing the whole law or not. Once you actually, for the first time, are born again and actually hear the good news and actually accept him as your savior, automatically your heart and your mind should be like, okay, what do I need to do to be like him? What do I need to be? What do I need to do to be more like him and less like me? And that should be an automatic reaction. You shouldn't have to have someone beat you over the head like, we need to keep the law. That if you're really born again, that should come naturally, that you want to be obedient. And people that hear the good news for the first time, they understand the basic understanding. I think everyone in this world, whether they want to admit it or not, understand the basic understanding of sin, what basic sin is. Adultery, lying, thievery. I mean, they understand those basic sins. So if you accept Yahusha, you should at least understand that. At that moment, you should at least understand, all right, what I know that is wrong that I'm doing, at that moment, I have to stop immediately doing. I think, at the least, that's a true sign of someone that's been born again when they hear the message of Messiah, when they hear it for the first time. They automatically. And when I was born again, automatically, I knew what I had to get rid of. Before I even knew the Torah, I knew I had to get rid of secular music. I knew how to get rid of this, rap. That's like the baby steps. That's the initial belief, because Paul even says, you know, we don't burden the beginners with knowing the Torah like that right away. We need to give them stuff to start on, like don't eat meat strangled, don't drink blood, you know, stuff that is basic to start off with, and then get into the Torah. And so it was, and that's what Paul talks about in his epistles. And you know, people twist it and start saying, "Oh, he's telling you don't need to keep the law." No, he's saying that they have time to learn the law, Sabbath after every Sabbath after every Sabbath. That's what he's saying. He's saying that after a while, they will know the law, they will know the Torah, but that people that are new converts, you got to give them time. Can't you just be shoving them everything all at once? I think that's I think the book of Acts gets completely butchered by Christian theology, and they don't understand what he's really saying.
I would like to add this to what you just said, Doug. I have never been born again. And no one truly has been born again. Because in order to be born again, we must discard the flesh and become like our Messiah. Because he says that the flesh is like water, but the Ruach goes where it wills. And the Ruach is spirit, and this is what we will attain at the resurrection, and that's when we truly are born again. Right now we're being converted, and we're becoming new creatures in Messiah, and I think that's what we were actually saying.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean physically born again. I didn't mean like literally being born again, as you would know of incorruption, corruption taking on incorruption. I didn't mean it like that. I mean it like, probably because we've learned the wrong terminology in the church, but what I meant by that, I meant more of a spiritual rebirth, that inside Yahusha is creating he created a new me as soon as I believed legitimately, wholeheartedly for the first time. I was not myself anymore. I was someone else. I didn't want to live for myself anymore. That's what I meant by being like spiritually born again. Like the me that was dwelling inside of me became a new creature, and it was like fighting all the time. I started to understand what Paul meant by, what I want to do, I can't do. What I don't want to do, I do. And just the inner fight, the inner battle with our inner selves. Because what happens when a new creature is created in us, it's like you have your old former self is still trying to get in there. Still trying to, sin is still trying to remind you of your former self and still trying to make you transgress, and then the new being that's being created in you spiritually by Yahusha is fighting the old you. So that's all I was talking about. I meant like spiritually being like recreated, like as a new man type of thing. I didn't mean like physically being born again.
Yeah. So that's a phrase that's used a lot by Christians, and they should really be talking about becoming a new creature in Messiah, because actually being born again is a whole new thing.
Yeah.
It's
Nicodemus asked him about that. How can you go back into your mother's womb and come out?
Can I go back into my mother's womb and get born again? He understood the concept, and Messiah made it plain that you must be born of water and the Spirit. And the fleshly birth, we're born of water. But when we're born of the Ruach, we cannot die, we live forever. And that is true, being born again. I just wanted to make the clarification, because many people believe being born again. And it's just a matter of semantics, I guess.
We have to hold on to our crown.
But we can lose our crowns. Christians learn some strange doctrines. I've found out, like once saved, always saved. That's not in the scripture. Even Paul, who said, I who have preached to you could fall. And we know that we have to really hold on to our crowns, as the scripture tells us to. Because if we don't, we could miss marriage. So we have to be very careful. This is why if we see a brother or sister who's missing the mark, sinning, we should lovingly guide them back to the right path. Because in doing so, we help them gain life at the end. Otherwise, they may not. It's a very serious walk we're on.
All right. So I pretty much don't have anything else to add from the chapter. I guess we could start 42. Let's see here. If anyone wants to have a turn to read, let me know. If not, I'll read.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to volunteer too. You go ahead.
All right.
You go ahead,
Whichever-
Sean.
Okay, I'm starting now. Reading from the Hallelujah Scriptures. See my servant whom I uphold, chosen one my being has delighted in. I have put my Ruach upon him. He brings forth right ruling to the nations. Who is he talking about? Yahusha, HaMashiach. He's talking about HaMashiach. He brings forth right ruling to the nations. He does not cry out, nor lift up, nor causes his voice to be heard in the street. A crushed reed he does not break, and smoking flax he does not quench. He brings forth right ruling in accordance with truth. He does not become weak or crushed until he has established right ruling in the earth. And the coastlands wait for his Torah. Thus says the Al Yahuwah, who created the Shemayim and stretched them out, who spread forth the earth and that which comes from it, who brings breath to the people on it, and spirit to those who walk on it. I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness, and I take hold of your hand and guard you, and give you for a covenant to a people, for a light to the Gentiles, to open blind eyes, to bring out prisoners from the prison, those who sit in darkness from the prison house. I am Yahuwah, that is my name, and my esteem I do not give to another, nor my praise to idols. See, the former have come, and new ones I am declaring. Before they spring forth, I let you hear them. Sing to Yahuwah a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth. You who go down to the sea and all that is in it, you coastlands and you inhabitants of them. Let the wilderness and its cities lift up their voice, the villages where Kedar dwells. Let the inhabitants of Salah sing. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. Let them give esteem to Yahuwah and declare his praise in the coastlands. Yahuwah goes forth like a mighty man. He stirs up ardor like a fighter. He cries out, also shouts aloud. Over his enemies he shouts, he shows himself mighty. I have kept silent from of old. I have been still and held myself back. Like a woman in labor, I cry out. I pant and gasp at once. I lay waste mountains and hills, and I dry up all their plants. And I shall make rivers become coastlands, and I dry up pools, and I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. In paths they have not known, I lead them. I make darkness light before them, and crooked places straight. These matters I shall do for them, and I shall not forsake them. Those who trust in idols, who say to the molded images, you are our mighty ones, shall be turned back utterly ashamed. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, and see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger, whom I send? Who is blind as he who is at peace, and blind as servant of Yahuwah? You see much, but you do not observe. Ears are open, but do not hear. It has delighted Yahuwah, for the sake of his righteousness, to make the Torah great and esteemed. But this is a people robbed and plundered. All of them are snared in holes, and they are hidden in prison houses. They have become a prey with no one to deliver, for plunder and no one to say, restore. Who among you gives ear to this, pays attention and hears for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for plunder and Yisrael for the robbers? Was it not Yahweh, he against whom we sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, and they would not obey his Torah. So he has poured on him his burning displeasure and the strength of battle, and it lit him on fire all around. Yet he did not understand, and it burned against him, yet he did not take it to heart.
Did you notice
Wow.
in verse 2? He does not cry out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why his name's Yahusha, not Yahushua.
Speak louder.
Hmm.
I don't know if they can hear you.
No, anybody.
Can y'all hear Dennis?
Nah, if he can't speak louder, then possibly try to get him closer to your phone or something.
Okay.
That we can hear him.
Yeah, just mentioning verse 2, where he says he does not cry out, nor lift up, nor causes his voice to be heard in the street. And I just made a comment that that's why his name is Yahusha, not Yahushua. But Yahua means to cry out, like the son of none.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, we understand that.
Mm-hmm. I remember we went across that. We found that out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years.
But this whole chapter is talking about Yahusha, HaMashiach. And I know a lot of you are looking for HaMashiach. You desire HaMashiach. And you don't know that HaMashiach is Yahusha. Or most of your books call him Yeshua. But his true name is, I believe, Yahusha, because it fits right in the name of Yahuwah.
Exodus 23, 20, 21.
Yeah, verse 21 jumped out at me because it says, because he is righteous, Yahuwah has exalted his esteemed law. And the Septuagint in one of the Psalms actually says, he has exalted his name above all. And I believe there's somewhere in the Septuagint talks about he has exalted his law. So I saw a lot in this chapter talking about his commandments, his law, and the reason why Yashral went through this punishment was because of disobedience. And Yahuwah even says, I allowed this to happen to them. And let's see, it says, verse 22, but his own people have been robbed and plundered, enslaved, imprisoned, and trapped. They are fair game for anyone and have no one to protect them. No one can take them back home. Who will hear these lessons from past and see the ruin that awaits you in the future? Who allowed Yashrael to be robbed and hurt? It was Yahuwah against whom we transgressed. For the people would not walk in his path, nor would they obey his law. Therefore he poured out his fury on them and destroyed them in battle. They were enveloped in flames, but they still refused to understand. They were consumed by fire, but they did not learn their lesson. And it seems from what's happening there is going to happen again in basically the end times. I could kind of connect Isaiah 42, 23 to 25 with Revelations, where it says they have not repented from the work of their hands when they're being tortured. And the whole concept of being consumed by fire has a lot to do with the lake of fire in Revelations. I kind of got like a parallel there, that even though this is just talking about them dying in battle, this could be referring also to Revelations, where they still haven't learned from their past mistakes, and they're going to burn, those that don't believe in Yahusha, that walk in sin, are going to be burned in the lake of fire.
Well, in Revelation, I think it's speaking of the totally lawless ones who basically worship the enemy
Will not repent.
because they cannot repent. That's why they shake their hand at the Creator.
Yeah.
That's when they become criminally insane.
Well, they are criminally insane, and it'll
Yeah.
be a wonderful day when they are
Mm-hmm.
double under our feet. Malachi tells us. But this is talking about Yisrael, Jacob, Yahuwah's people. We are Yahuwah's people, and yet we're not walking in His ways for the most part. What are we doing?
A lot of people here are Gentiles.
We might go to a synagogue or church or whatever, and the rest of the week we live like the heathen. So I'm just saying, if you're like that, you need to change, because we live in the times right before the coming of Hamashiach. And I hope that you will take it to heart and learn your lessons and put sin away. Just put sin away and do the Torah. It's not that hard. Do the Torah. And when you stumble, you have Hamashiach. You have His blood to wipe it away.
Great question.
Yeah.
This is David. Where are you reading that, and who are you discussing?
Where are we reading? Isaiah, verse 42. Not verse.
Chapter 42. We just finished the whole chapter 42. We were discussing verses, I believe, 23 to 25. The last three chapters. Not last three chapters. Last three verses of chapter 42. So that's what we were just discussing just now. I think we have just enough time for one more chapter, and I know Sally, she wanted to read before, so she could read chapter 43 if she likes.
Sure. But now thus saith Yahuwah your Creator, O Jacob, and He who formed you, O Yasharel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I am with you, and through rivers, they do not overflow you. When you walk through fire, you are not scorched, and a flame does not burn you. For I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, the set apart one of Yasharel, your Savior. I gave Mitzrayim for your ransom, Cush and Seba in your place. Since you are precious in my eyes and have been esteemed, and I have loved you, and I give men in your place and peoples for your life. Do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. I shall say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. All those who are called by my name, whom I have created, formed, even made for my esteem. He shall bring out a blind people who have eyes, and deaf ones who have ears. All the nations shall be assembled, and the peoples be gathered. Who among them declares this, and show us former events? Let them give their witnesses to be declared right, or let them hear and say it is truth. You are my witnesses, declares Yahuwah, and my servant whom I have chosen, so that you know and believe me and understand that I am He. Before me there was no El formed, nor after me there is none. I am Yahuwah, and besides me there is no Savior. I have declared and saved and made known, and there was no foreign mighty one among you. And you are my witnesses, declares Yahuwah, that I am El. Even from the day I am He, and no one delivers out of my hand. I work, and He turns it back. Thus said Yahuwah, your Redeemer, the set-apart one of Yasharel. For your sake I shall send to Babel, and bring them all down as fugitives, even the Chaldeans who rejoice in their ships. I am Yahuwah, your set-apart one, creator of Yasharel, your sovereign. Thus said Yahuwah, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters, who brings forth the chariot and horse, the army and the power. They lie down together, they do not rise. They have been extinguished. They have been quenched like a wick. Do not remember the former events, nor consider the events of old. See, I am doing what is new. Let it now spring forth. Do you not know it? I am even making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The beast of the field esteems me, the jackals and the ostriches, because I have given waters in the wilderness and rivers in the desert, to give drink to my people, my chosen. This people I have formed for myself. Let them relate my praise. But you have not called on me, O Yaakov, for you have been weary of me, O Yasharel. You have not brought me the sheep for your burnt offerings, nor have you esteemed me with your slaughterings. I have not caused you to serve with grain offerings, nor wearied you with incense. You have not bought me sweet, just a second here. You have not bought me sweet cane with silver, nor have you satisfied me with the fat of your slaughterings. You have only burdened me with your sins. You have wearied me with your crookedness. So I am He who blots out your transgressions for my own sake, and remember your sins no more. Remind me, let us enter into judgment together, relate, that you might be declared right. Your first fathers sinned, and your interpreters have transgressed against me. So I have profaned the chief ones of the set-apart place, and I have delivered up Yaakov to the curse, and Yasharel to scorn.
Sadly, our people just have stiff necks and don't want to listen.
No, they do not.
We have a Savior who loves us very much, And this is all about him right here. It's telling us that he cares for us. He loves us. He's our Savior. HaMashiach. That's who it's all about.
And it's not just us that are stiff-necked. All humanity has been stiff-necked from the beginning. Because when I read that where it says your ancestors, your fathers sinned from the beginning, he's obviously talking about Adam. And he's talking about all humankind in that verse in context. And he's pretty much saying, you basically never learned from your mistakes. You pretty much have kept sinning. And verse 27 says, from the very beginning, your first ancestor transgressed against me. And we know who the first man was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it says, all your leaders broke my law. So then it goes back to Yashrael saying that, that even their leaders, their judges, broke his laws. So, and, so only now are we starting to realize, that we need to return back to his ways, and it's only at the end of time do we wake up. And that's more of a time, it's even more of a time than ever for us to wake up, because we have a very, very short time before these events start quickening, and before Yahusha's return is literally at our door. So it's even more of a time to wake up now more than ever, because there's not much time left.
This is true. And his commandments are not hard. They're easy. You just set your heart not to sin. I heard this in a sermon years ago, and just set your heart not to sin. Okay? So I
I
did.
can understand that.
Yeah, even a child can understand that.
Yes.
So is there any other messages, comments we want to say before ending the recording right now?
I just want to say that HaMashiach is all over Isaiah. Isaiah is a book that talks about him, who he is, what he does. He is Torah. He is righteousness. And this is what we ought to be doing. We ought to be studying Torah and becoming like him.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's a great way to end this study, and thank you for all of our brothers and sisters in Yahusha that are in Messiah, that have come into the realization to at least keep the Sabbath and have entered into Hebrew roots, and some of our brothers and sisters that are along the ways and are where we are. Thank you for all of you that have joined us today. This is Brother Doug signing off with my sister Shoshana, my brother Dennis, my sister Sally, our brother Barry was with us. Oh, no, not Daoud, brother Daoud, and we had a special guest today.
Turbo.
What's her name?
Turbo.
Turbo? Okay.
Is she still with us?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. She's been muted the whole time, but she's with us.
Oh, okay.
So all of us want to wish you guys a great rest of this Shabbat. Hopefully this message blessed you. Hopefully you got something out of it. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.
Enjoy it.